Hi Andres, just a quick video for you regarding the drills. I'm going to try and go through these in the order that you sent them across to me. Pelvis translating P1 to P2, some sort of obstacle. Some guys use a chair or a tool bag. I've just got the skills arms, I don't know what they're called officially, but anyway, I've took them apart. You can slide the kits inside, you can adjust the angles. They're perfect for this sort of thing. They're also perfect for keeping the arms in on the way back, preventing the head from translating, etc. Anyway, one of those at around about pelvis level. Cane should be touching the pelvis. You need to make sure you've enough room here to get your arms past so that you're not sort of whacking into it with your arms. And then from there, just feel like you're staying inside the cane all the way back. So you've got obstacle to the right pelvis or the right hip, creating a little bit of a gap on the way back, as opposed to pushing into it as you go back. So anything that provides a little bit of feedback as to whether the pelvis is rotating upwards and inwards, or whether it's starting to bump that way to start with. As you saw with my videos or my images the other week, something I've always struggled with is a little bit of a bump off, very much like an extension. And when I do that excessively, the game becomes quite, shall we say, colourful. So I'm always trying to practice in a manner that prevents that. Now, what I experienced was when I put the cane to the side of the head, I always had a bump off, and that bump off has been the pelvis translating, and then the neck tilt's going in late. Now, when I put the cane to the side of the head, which was mainly to stabilise the centre of the shoulder turn, what I found was that the pelvis was much more stable from P1 to P2. And I think that's in the images that I posted on my forum. If not, I'll tag you in on it later. Accumulator loading from P1 to P2. A really good way of developing this is to get an obstacle. It's maybe about 3 inches thick. Put it about 18 inches behind the golf ball that you're hitting, and make sure that you get the club to elevate above. So you're starting to load accumulator 2 and accumulator 1 a little bit quicker. They're providing the upward aspect. Also found that the left shoulder works down. That'll also have a knock-on effect on what the pelvis is doing. So if your takeaway was low to the ground, with accumulator 1 and 2 loading late, you'd be getting pulled off this way. Whereas if you start to load accumulator 1 and 2 a little bit earlier, you're going to find that there's less movement off that way. So you find that 1 or 2 of these sort of bleed into one another. Accumulator loading P1 to P4 is more of a sequencing thing, and starting to understand what the feels are, which piece is doing what, etc., etc. Good way of doing that is to stand upright, load accumulator 2, load accumulator 3, load accumulator 1 and 4. And you can repeat that a number of times. Load 2, add 3, load 1 and 4. If you don't want to put some side bend in, that's going to give you a feel for where you are at P4. So that's a good way of learning how to load your accumulators. You'll find out one feels a little bit more unusual than the other, etc., etc. P4.5 to 6.5, heel popping up. Best drill by a country mile. Put the club on your foot. If the heel pops up too quick, the club comes off. So keep the club on. You have to bank the foot in a little bit more, certainly won't pop up as fast. You do see some players with it under the heel as well. That's another good one. Just trying to trap the club under the heel and only let the club come out, or only release the heel from sort of 7 onwards. So that's another way of doing it. I actually prefer the first way of doing it, but that is a way of doing it. Lead knee lead knee at P7 is more of an understanding of the concept, and we discussed it during our chat the other day. When the ball's on the floor and it's further back in the stance, we're trying to hit it with more shaft lean, we're hitting it with more negative loft, so you'd expect to see the lead knee into the ground more, if you will, more flex. In order to hit a ball with a longer club off the floor, you've got to shallow things out. One way of doing that is to push up at the ground, which requires you to widen the arc. Less shaft lean, a wider arc means a lower approach into the golf ball. So you'd expect to see some flex, but not as much. Wedge, 6-iron. Ball on a tee, forward in the stance, pushing up at the ground to generate more force anyway, or more power. Also widening the arc, so from 6 to 7, we push up more and have a more vertical shaft. Generally speaking, now you do see people demonstrate things other than that, but generally speaking, that's what you would see. So just play around with sort of different clubs, P7 with a wedge, P7 with a 6-iron, P7 with a driver, and just get clear on what you're trying to do. Now the reason I say it's more of a concept, the lie you're hitting from will severely affect what sort of movement this lead knee makes. So if you're trying to hit a 7-iron but you're trying to dig it out deep rough, you're going to go down more because you're trying to drive the ball, you're trying to drive the club down and dig the ball out the turf. Now, if the ball's sat up on some semi-rough, nice fluffy line, you're trying to hit this 7 or 6-iron as high as you can, you might see a little bit less, or you would see a little bit less movement down, and therefore a little bit more movement up. So that's going to affect what the lead knee is doing. So it's more of a concept than an exact science. Flexing forward from P4 to P6, one way of doing it, and it certainly gets you flexing forward. Now when you do this, you're just isolating P4 to P6. You're not worried about where the ball's going, you don't even need to hit a ball when you're doing it. Is get to P4 and then get the player or yourself to bury the club in the ground. And really smash the club into the mat. And that gets you flexing forward. Obviously it doesn't get you then extending, that's another issue, but you're just working on the flexing forward. That's a way of doing it. Another way is to, especially if you're using a sort of like a gilet, which is a sleeveless top, slide a cane through actually the sleeveless top. And if you are flexing forward from 4 to 6, it will look like this. If you start to extend from 4 to 6, it will look like this. So you can start to use that as a visual aid. Keeping this cane, as you transition, you want the cane to stay pointing at the ground for longer. That's just you working on 4 to 6. If you had a player who was flexing too much and you wanted him to flex less and you've got this guy, then you could get him to get the cane point up quicker. Wouldn't want too much of that obviously, but that's one way of doing it. So flexing forward from 4 to 6. Extension from 6 to 9. Really there's only one way to get that player doing that, or to get into doing that. Eliminate the backswing, push balls forward, and as you're doing that, the only source of power you have, because you haven't accumulated any power on the way back, the only source of power you have is getting rid of the angles in the ankles, the knees, the pelvis, the chest and the neck, and get the player to hit, or to try to hit every shot slightly higher and slightly further than the shot before. Those shots aren't going to go very high and they're not going to go very far, but that should be the goal. So that's your extension from 6 to 9. Preventing the low pull across, again, use some obstacles, range baskets, balls, boxes, anything you want. The bad one for you is you're looking pretty good at 6 and then pull the club inwards quickly like this. So you just have something between the stance line and the target line that allows you to continue hitting out whilst tracing the arc. So we don't want anything too close, which is going to get you hitting out excessively. Anything that's just inside that prevents you pulling across too quickly. That's going to help with obviously the exit being too low as you're filming it down the line. Shaft at P5, use your canes, use your grid. You know that you want the arm to be in. Accumulator 3 plays a part in it as well, as does accumulator 2. So if you are more ulnar-deviated at 5 versus more radial deviation at 5. If you're externally rotating versus internally rotating. But generally speaking, arms in 20 degrees, shaft mid bicep. You can put a cane down on the mat, angled in 20 degrees. Remember, the grid's a flexible tool. Use the pieces that you need, not the whole thing all the time. Just in line with the stance line, angle in about 20 degrees. Match the left arm up with the cane in transition. And then the right tilt at 7, again, it's more of a concept. It'll change from club to club. If the player's pushing the pelvis forward for longer and rotating less, it would look excessive or more. If the player's working on rotating a little bit more and extending a little bit less, it would look a little bit less side bend at 7. Also depends on the shot you're hitting. Are you hitting a wedge? Are you hitting a driver? Both ends of the spectrum. Driver, more thrust, you'd expect to see a little bit more axis tilt. If you're hitting a wedge, you'd expect to see a little bit less. So when you put your notes that you're not sure whether it matters, it does matter. And it's clearing up and getting the concepts right in your mind so that when you're practicing, you're looking at the right things. So I hope that helps. Get stuck in and look forward to watching your progress.